we are back to discussing the Rings of Power, and it is dropping in just at 48 hours. This is the time for us to just nerd out over all the great trailers that Amazon has released. I've seen them all, and I am prepared now to give you a complete trailer breakdown. Quick note, if you haven't seen part 1, I definitely recommend you checking out part 1, where I broke down just the title alone. And I got some great feedback from that video, but guys, that's not even the good stuff, because here in part 2, I'm going over the meat. I'm going over all the good stuff, and we're going to be talking about all the characters and things I was able to see in the trailers. I saw them all, and you're going to want to stick around for this one because I saw some pretty neat things. So the very first thing we probably want to go over is the obvious showstopper. Galadriel will probably, it looks like she will be the main character, like the main character, you know, the character where the whole point of view takes place. And let me tell you, when I first saw the trailer for this, I just put my hand on my forehead and I was like, why didn't I think of that? That's such a brilliant idea. And just a quick reference, if you guys haven't seen The Lord of the Rings recently, Galadriel was the Cate Blanchett character. And Cate Blanchett, that was like her absolute best role, in my opinion. She did so well there. And of course, if you remember, she was the High Elf Queen, and she was a guardian of one of the rings, if you remember. She was one of the very few who were not corrupted. So that was really interesting. Creating a prequel series with her as a main character is a brilliant idea. We didn't really get to see much of her in the movie. Good as she was, she just kind of stood there very proud and said a few wise things and kind of just exited the picture. Whereas here in the trailers, what do I see? I see her being treated as more of a warrior. It doesn't look like she's a queen just yet. Okay, I like it. So maybe a very young Galadriel who's engaged in a great war over Middle-earth. Guys, isn't that like every Tolkien book ever? That's almost cliche at this point, but I still love it. So that is a great idea. I want to mention, I usually like to talk about the cast in movies and stuff, but I don't recognize anybody. Like maybe you might, but I don't recognize anybody. I looked over the cast list twice. I don't recognize them, but the lady who's playing Galadriel looks like she's doing a great job. But then again, that's just the trailer. That's the highlight reel. We don't know, but it's a great idea, and I absolutely love it. Another thing I want to talk about, remember how in the first video I discussed this is such a great idea for Amazon to turn this into a series, because what this could allow them to do is plenty of time to not only tell their story, which is absolutely essential, but do you remember how I said they could create tie-ins to all the other books we always wanted to see, like the Silmarillion, right? Huge deal. Or the Children of Hurin, Unfinished Tales. Remember how I said that? Okay, I only saw this it literally just flashed in front of me, but I saw Thorin Oakenshield's grandfather. If you remember him, he was the king under the mountain, the mighty king of the dwarves. I saw him show up in the trailer. They even addressed him as king under the mountain. And do you understand the significance of that? That means with this series, it's not only a prequel to Lord of the Rings, it's also going to be a tie-in to The Hobbit as well. So already we know it's tying into Lord of the Rings. We know it, and now we know it's going to tie into The Hobbit. What Amazon Prime Studios is attempting to do is try to unify all the stories with this one series. That is just brilliant. Yes, I know that only showed up for a second, but trust me, that is so significant. All right, the next thing we have to talk about is another huge showstopper. Sauron returns. Well, actually, he doesn't really return. He's actually coming like into Middle-earth for the first time, it appears. And I have to talk about that. We didn't get a very good look at him. You don't see him until the very end of the trailer. You just see like a really creepy, like bony / metal engrafted hand, and creepy music plays, and then the Rings of Power. But it's very clear that I expect him actually to show up fairly early in the series. I'm just going to go and make a little prediction. I expect him to show up maybe at about episode 2 or 3. And the reason I say is because of the way he's built up all throughout the trailer. I talked about the meteor in the first video, right? Like in the trailers, there's this meteor that shows and streaks across the sky, and all the characters are looking at it. And this one character I don't recognize goes, "The skies are strange." Love it. I like that line. Look, if it was a sci-fi, I wouldn't even be pointing this out, okay? If it was any other genre, I wouldn't even bother mentioning this. This is Lord of the Rings, and things like meteors just don't show up unless it's really important. So here's another prediction I'm going to make. We know that Sauron's going to come up I expect him to also be treated with some depth. You didn't really see him a whole lot in the movies. He was just basically the eye. He said some really creepy things, and then he gets destroyed. So he's more of a character type, like an archetype, rather than an actual character. Does that make sense? There's not a whole lot of depth or backstory or really anything to work off of. He's more of a legend, if that makes sense. Well, here he looks like he's going to be treated as a main character, and I'm willing to predict that Sauron had something to do with that meteor you see streaking across the sky. So what I'm willing to predict is that he literally falls from the heavens, from the sky itself. Now, I don't know that for absolute certain. Nobody's seen the series, but that is my prediction. That's what I think will happen. That's a really neat idea because even Tolkien himself never really explained where Sauron came from. I'm looking forward to that. What else did I see? I also saw that Elrond shows back up. It's not the old guy. I really liked the one in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. He did so good. He was also in The Matrix, guys. He played as the Smith, and he was just, fantastic. He did such a great job. So we get to see a younger Elrond here. And if you remember in the movies, Elrond's basically like, a couple thousand years old, literally. Like he talks about all the ages of men, plural, that he got to see. And I really like that. And I'm wondering if we won't see a little bit of friction between Galadriel and Elrond. I would love to see that. But Elrond apparently will be one of the main characters. That's great because I really like his character. I want to see more of it. And that's precisely what Prime Studios is giving us. And let me just add a quick little intermission here. Basically, everything I'm seeing in the trailer, it looks like Amazon Prime Studios is literally giving me, personally, I don't know about you guys, but personally, it's giving me everything I've always wanted to see in a series. Like everything is showing up. I absolutely love it. So Elrond. And here's another huge thing nobody's talking about. Yes, there's a lot of videos and articles and stuff. People are like, yes, finally, new Middle-earth stories. But here's the thing. It's not just new stories, guys. Prime Studios is taking this in directions I had never seen possible. Here's another characters we're going to be seeing. The Ring Wraiths. But unhooded. That is a really great idea. So if you recall, in the books, and of course in the first movie, quick thing, you kind of need to have the extended edition of the first movie to see this. But the Ring Wraiths were 9 kings of men who were given these rings of power and ended up becoming corrupted by it, destroyed. It cost them their very souls. So what you're seeing as a Ring Wraith, or the Nazgul, whatever you want to call them, they are literally soulless men. They're wraiths, specters, ghouls. They are not dead, but they're dead. Does that make sense? It's literally a living death, and they are trapped in eternal servitude to Sauron. We're going to see the origins of that here, apparently. But there's a few things that confuse me. I saw a Ring Wraith who looked like an adult, right? But I also saw a young boy holding a Morgul blade. If you recall that, the blade that Frodo gets stabbed with, and then it just fades away. Well, I saw a young boy holding one of those in a city. That's interesting. That is so interesting. How do you have a young Ring Wraith? I'm a little confused. It could have just put it in there for artistic purposes, or maybe there's something else going on. I just wanted to point that out because they keep showing that all throughout the trailer. And it's one of those things that make me scratch my head and go, huh? What's going on here? Okay, what other characters will be seeing? We're going to see a lot of creatures. I see the orcs are back, and guys, they are creepier than ever, and I like that. I really, really do. I also saw, I believe it was Isildur. Now, I can't say this for certain. I could be wrong about this. I'm a little unsure about the timing of the Rings of Power. I'm a little bit unsure about that, how it fits chronologically. But if you recall, Isildur was the grandfather of Aragorn, the rightful king of Gondor. And it was Isildur who basically was the downfall of the entire human race because he was corrupted by the One Ring and refused to destroy it. I believe I saw him in the trailer, because he looks just like Aragorn. It fits the description, and if Prime Studios did that, it would fit with the chronology as best I understand it. So these are all these different characters I'm seeing. And the last thing I want to point out, I almost missed this completely. Like when I was first planning this video out, I didn't even have this in the notes. That's how much it evaded me. It wasn't until very recently I got it. Throughout all the trailers, we see a brand new tribe of people, which is interesting because in the series, basically, humans, they always dwell in these big cities, like all the time, these humongous cities of stone. It's just like a thing, But I saw a forest tribe that we've never seen before, And look, I'm a huge fan of the books, guys. If this has shown up, I'd be telling you about it. It never showed up in any of the books, any of the short stories. This looks like a brand new element, like this new forest tribe of people. And it looks like they're going to be a major player in the series as well. That's something I want you guys to watch out for, because that's going to be really interesting. So those are all the characters I saw. There's, like I just brought to you, there's going to be a lot of new characters, returns of old favorites. It's a brilliant idea. I absolutely like it. But I'm not done yet. Be sure to stay tuned, because I have one more trailer breakdown where I'm going to be giving you even more stuff that I saw. So thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe.